We had so many conversations. Good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
How are you?
I'm doing good by His grace. It's just the economy that is hitting us hard. It's not easy.
He's former MP for Damongo and energy expert. Now operates in the what do you call it? I don't know how to put the word, civil society field in energy.
Yeah.
Yes, so now operates largely there.
Yeah.
What have you been up to? That's what I know, but what really have you been up to since leaving Parliament?
Yeah, after I left Parliament, my good friend and brother asked me to be with them.
Okay.
That is IES.
Okay.
Nana Anamuasechi.
Okay.
And I've been with them. But at the same time, I got myself engaged academically. That actually took my time. I got admission in Legon, and that was in January this year. And then March, another one in Cape Coast. So I decided to blend the two. So it has actually given me pressure. By the time I finished the exams in Legon, a week later I have to go to Cape Coast and write. And after that, lectures. It wasn't easy, but on the 8th of October, the coursework in Legon.
You're done with it.
Yes,
Okay.
So
that's reduced the pressure.
Piece, and that's why I'm able to now speak small in the media.
Oh, okay. I realize you've not been speaking for a while because typically
I was quite hot.
Oh,
academically.
Nice to hear that. But that should take a lot of guts to decide to combine two.
Yeah, it hasn't been easy. Yeah, but once I started with Legon, 3 months, I thought that no.
You can carry Cape Coast too.
No, and it's not been bad. Yeah.
Well, do you miss Parliament?
Yeah, I do miss Parliament most often. Yeah.
What about it?
You know, when you are in Parliament, you are in a position to contribute to the development of the country better. When it comes to laws, agreements, and what have you, I miss that. I recap Ameri Energy, PDS, and all those transactions that came to Parliament, and as ranking member, my role I played has been, I miss those days. But in terms of time and then pressure, I was having more pressure and limited time as an MP. Now I have enough time, and the pressure is much better. So there are some aspects you lose. Then you look at other aspects.
You gain a lot more time. There's less pressure on you.
I gain more experience in terms of in Parliament and out of Parliament. It's been good.
And I realized over that period, before you took over the role of Mines and Energy, you became the ranking member on it. Did you have any previous experience in that field?
No. Before I came to Parliament on the 7th of January 2013.
Okay.
And by then, I had my first degree, which is MSc, Business Administration, Accounting option at finished Legon.
Okay.
And I have my Commonwealth Executive MBA. So there was no background in energy at all.
Oh, so your background is accounting?
Accounting.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So when I came and my big brother, Honorable Muntaka, put me in the Mines and Energy Committee, I was not comfortable with it because I was thinking I would go to either local government, being a former DC, or I'll be put in the Finance Committee. But for energy, I was not comfortable. So I went to explain to him that where he has put me, I'm not sure I can perform. But he asked me to go and try. But after 3 weeks, I realized that I normally like challenging situations. I realized that the energy sector is fluid. There's no one thing you can hold on forever. And I developed much interest. And by March, Honorable Kobina Donko identified me. And his contribution to the energy position today, my ability to contribute to the energy sector, I always give credit to Honorable Kobina Donko. when within 3 months by March, he asked me that the way I'm picking up with the energy issues, he's quite glad with it. And that Natural Resource Governance Institute has a program in Budapest for 2 weeks. And he would like me to attend that training, which I gladly accepted. And after the 2 weeks, then my interest actually came in. And I think by December, thereabout, I had picked up small. And then he became a minister. Then I was made the vice chairman of the committee. But I built up my...
so you build capacity on issues of energy and mines working on the job?
Yeah, I went to Dundee about 3 times, short period training. I went to Oxford University for training. I went to Boston for some training, not long, maybe a week, 2 training. And Offshore Technology Conference in Houston, Texas, from 2013 to 2019. I make sure I'm always there. And I go there to learn, because that is where huge international oil companies mount their platforms, and then they have lectures. So they can take Gulf of Guinea, lecture about 30, 40 minutes. So I go to identify all these companies, the time at which they will lecture. Then I go from one pavilion to the other. So for the 1 week or 5 days stay, I take it as a learning ground. So I'll go to Baker Hill, which is a service company. I'll go to like Petronas, if they have a lecture, which is a Malaysian international oil company. I can go to like Petrobras and the huge Start Oil now, Equinor, just to listen to their lecture. And they contributed very well to my development as well.
That's fantastic, because speaking to you between at least 2017, when the NDC left power, all the way through to 2020, I got the impression that you were an expert in the field.
Yeah, it's on the job, and it's more practical to some extent. So when you get a little input, it broadens your knowledge wider. So actually, I obtained my BSc Energy Economics in 2020. Yes.
That's the very first qualification you got in
the energy sector. But with the training that I went to, it was it's rich, and that's why I've been able to know a little about the energy sector.
I must admit that I've missed you, though, so much. I miss constantly having conversations with you. Sometimes I recall on weekdays in a particular week, I could have 3 different conversations with you on energy, and you were always available, and I miss that. I appreciate that, and thank you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
But we'll go to energy. But before that, you're an accountant by training.
Yes.
So let me start with the economy, because I have to take a break at 9. Then we'll continue and move from energy. The economy. I'm sure you're listening to everything that is happening.
Exactly. And my little course I did in Legon brought in my knowledge a bit. I just finished. I said the coursework is MSc Development Finance. And I did what we call International Finance and many other courses. That has given me broader knowledge than what I previously know about the economy. Yeah.
What's your assessment of everything that's going on? What do you think? And I recall from the conversations I had with you, you always had difficulties with the leadership that was being provided by this government from day one. But what do you think the problem is in terms of the economic challenges we are confronted with currently?
It started long ago, and it's a matter of debt and financing, deficit financing. That is what has brought us here today.
Debt and deficit financing.
You see, since this government came to power, they have continuously borrowed. So let me say, as at December 2016, the national debt was 120 billion Ghana cedis. And that debt is not debt accumulated by President Mahama. It's debt that has been accumulated from Kwame Nkrumah time to President Mahama. 120 billion. This government criticized the President Mahama regime for borrowing.
Okay.
And that there is money in the economy. And they know where the money is. But unfortunately, when they came to power, they continuously borrowed. Not only domestic or what we call internal, but external or foreign. And that is where the worry is, because when you go to external, more especially capital market, these are people who are investing their money for a return. And they can move their investment if other countries are offering better interest rates. So you are more tight when you have more foreign debt than local debt. And this government, every year since 2017, until they are no more able to go, have been going to the international capital market, that is the bond, the euro bond, to raise 3 billion.
At least.
So it's like doping. You go and get an injection, and you boast that you are doing good. But in reality, that is debt. Two, if you borrow it and you don't use it for productive activities to contribute positively to the growth of the economy, then you have a problem with repayment of interest and the principal.
Okay.
So most of the money borrowed by this government, you cannot pinpoint exactly what they have used it for. And the foreign, you can have multilateral loans, that is from IMF, World Bank. You can have bilateral loans, that is the external debt, that is country to country. And you can have the capital market. The capital market is very volatile in terms of movement of their investment. With the multilateral and bilateral, you can mostly sit with them and discuss, judge or canvas, see how they can either help you, the loan, either instead of it be commercial, then you can discuss with them to make it concessionary or in a form of a grant. So if it is concessionary, means it has low interest. If it is a grant, there's no interest at all. So that one, you have some flexibility. But when it comes to the capital market, then you must know that in terms of challenges with your economy, they can easily move their investment. And in the capital market, we have what we call cross-default.
Okay.
It is a clause in bonds which says that if you default in another loan, you have automatically default in the bond agreement. So you go to bond and you borrow $3 billion.
Okay.
Now you owe, let's say, China. At the end of the day, you are not able to pay China. It automatically means that you've defaulted in the Eurobond as well. So it doesn't relate to just the Eurobond that when you are not able to pay. It's a very technical word there, and most countries that go to the international market have challenges. And you realize that during the 2020 COVID, the advanced countries were willing to give debt suspension to African countries. But most of the African countries refused to take it. Because any country that has gone to the international capital market and you take debt suspension, simple means that you will not be able to pay your debt, and that is debt default. And therefore, cross-default clause will kick in.
Okay.
And therefore, the holders of the bonds, then they will start moving their investment from the country. So that is the danger for going for external loan. But as of June 2022, our external debt stood at 28.67 billion Ghana cedis. Dollars, sorry. $28.67 billion, which is about 51.03% of the total debt. So that means that we have borrowed externally more than what we have borrowed internally. If it is internal, you can manage it. You can manage it because you'll be paying the people in Ghana cedis, and like the inflation, it has blown away all the investment. You see, if I invest in, let's say, treasury bills, and the interest rate is 30%, however, inflation is 40%, I'm not making any gains. It's even eroding the value
Of the money
of my principal. Because the real interest rate is the nominal interest rate minus inflation.
Okay.
So if the nominal interest rate is 30 and inflation is 40, 30 minus 40, you get negative 10.
Yeah.
So in reality, your investment is being reduced by about 10%. So in that case, government can easily manage it. Government can easily call on Bank of Ghana to come in to get more currency to help. However, the government of Ghana go and say, I'm printing dollars? No. So from 2017, we're more of taking doping.
Okay.
Every year, 3 billion at the beginning of the year to remain afloat. But as you take more of it, and you are not able to convince investors how you'll be able to raise revenue to pay for it, the interest and where possibly the principal, the investor is always watching.
Okay.
So you realize that the last year's budget, our debt was huge. Investor wanted to know whether we'll be able to raise enough revenue to pay for the interest. Because interest and statutory payment alone was over 90%. Interest payment on our debt was over 40 billion Ghana cedis. How do you finance it? Then they brought in e-levy, and it became evident that it won't materialize. So if I'm an investor and the proposal by government to raise internally generated funds to pay for my interest, then I realized that it won't be possible for the government to be able to do that. The rating agencies such as Moody's, Fitch, Standard & Poor also monitor what strategies you are putting in place to mobilize revenue. If they perceive that you might not be able, they will downgrade you. And as said, downgrade came, and investors are monitoring the downgrade. Then there will be capital flight. Those holders of Eurobond would like to
Take away the
divert. And we also know that U.S. over the period have continuously increased their interest rate. They increased it to 250 basis points, increased it by 75 basis points. So from 2.5%, currently it's about 3.2%. And that economy is stable, predictable. So what do you think investors will do?
So they are investing more in U.S. bonds.
They will move to U.S. because of the interest rate hike. And therefore, I wasn't surprised when James said that within this period alone, about $2 billion had been moved out of the country. And we know its impact on foreign reserves.
So partly we are suffering from perhaps sticking with your doping analysis.
And without putting strategies to
withdraw symptoms.
Yes. Then, two, government budget deficit.
Okay.
They rely on central bank to print currency. And you know, deficit financing from the central bank increases the amount of money in circulation. And therefore, inflation can take place. And inflation plays a central role when it comes to the management of economy. It has effect on interest rate. It has effect on our balance of payment. Do you know why? When inflation in a country goes high, the price of goods and services become expensive relative to foreign goods. Consumers being rational, what do you think they will do? They will increase their demand for foreign goods because they will look relatively cheaper.
Okay.
Now, before they can import these goods, they need dollar, they need euro, they need pounds. So their demand for foreign currency will increase. Then you realize that the import bill will increase more than what you gain from your export. It also has effect in the sense that foreigners who used to purchase your goods, because of the inflation and the cost of the goods, will no more be buying.
Okay.
Because their home country will be relatively cheaper. So they would prefer to buy from their home country than
Buy from you.
So the income or the foreign exchange that you get from them will drop. So you see an imbalance.
Okay.
And what will it do to the cedi?
Well, the cedi
Your
will
demand
suffer.
for dollar or pounds or euro is higher than what you receive. So you see that there will be pressure on the cedi, and that has caused it to depreciate. Coupled with inability of the government to go to the Eurobond market to borrow. So definitely serious challenges, and that is where we are today.
So two problems you see. The way we finance our deficit. Secondly, debt.
Debt, yeah.
So those are the problems that government needs to tackle.
That is the key.
Then I guess it must make sense to you that as you speak currently, your colleagues in parliament, especially on the minority side, have started moves to censure the finance minister.
Yeah.
Does that add up for you? Is that the best thing to do?
Yeah, there are two. If first and foremost, he mismanaged the economy.
Yeah.
Honorable Adongo won him from 2017, 2018, 2019, and he will listing.
Okay.
Honorable Atofosen, the minority leader, Honorable Blackwell, they've continuously warned him and even warned him for breaching the laws that has been put in place by this nation. He refused. And that is where we are today. For that, he needed to have resigned. Two, every human being has a principle.
Okay.
And you should never breach your principle. If you come out and tell us that we are not going to IMF, we are a proud nation, going to IMF had adverse consequence on the nation, that means that you are against. Coupled with some of the minister, deputy minister coming out to say that we won't go to IMF. You go there and these small boys want to dictate to you. We will not go. Then the next day you turn around that we are going to IMF and I will lead it. In a matter of principle,
Ghana's gold.
it doesn't create any
Ranger
hope.
gold.
It doesn't create any hope. And speculation is very, perception is high. That is one. Two, this government has continuously engaged in what we call creative accounting. And what they they put in our budget and other figures they give out are not the true figures. And have been putting some debt below the line, like the banking sector cleanup, the energy sector debt. They said they won't treat them as debt.
Okay.
And Ken Ofori-Atta has been strong in that, ensuring that it's not considered as a debt, but below the line item. The IMF and the IMF believe that it's a debt and therefore must be added. Now, like the Sino-Hydro loan. Yeah. They must all be added to the national debt. You are not in agreement and you are going to negotiate with them. How do you agree? Do you get my point? Yeah. I don't believe that these are debt. Okay. IMF said they are debt. And I understand why he's not in agreement, because if he add them up, it will be debt unsustainable.
Okay.
And if you are debt unsustainable, IMF will not give you any agreement. But in this case, IMF has the upper hand, more bargaining power than you. You went there in an ambulance. You were not even prepared. They will dictate to you. So for that sake, he needed to have stepped aside for somebody neutral to come in.
Okay.
He will be free to accept and see the way forward. But the same man who have been engaged in all these things, now going to lead to negotiate something by principle he has not agreed with. How can that happen? I think that the president should have fired him a long time ago, or he himself, per principle, should have resigned. That I don't believe in going to IMF. I've said it over and over again. And once we are now going to IMF, I will not be the best person to lead the team. And one thing he could have avoided this call was not to lead the IMF team. He could have said that, okay, now I will step aside for somebody to lead the team.
Okay.
Whatever the outcome is, then I will be willing to implement it. You realize, President Mahama, even though Satekpe agreed that it is good we go to IMF, nobody kicked against it. It was self-engineered. President Mahama saw that we had challenges. We needed to have the century consensus, have agreement, have a document, homegrown program or homegrown solution. We take it to IMF.
Okay.
Yeah, but because Honorable Satekpe was the finance minister, he stepped aside for somebody, Professor Kwesi Botwe, to lead the team. And that is what should have happened. But he said, no, I'll lead the team.
And the president is even defending that decision by the finance minister.
That even worsens our the perception we have. Because if internationally and locally people have seen the finance minister not to be performing, and you come to tell that he's performing excellently, it sends signals to foreign investors that this man is not even serious. Let's move our investment before it crash. So it doesn't send good signal to the market. Nanado should have stored those words and shouldn't be referring to, oh, he did well. No, he did well because it was doping. That is one. Two, it's like football. First half, you've played very well. Second half, you are not doing well. As a coach, you say, oh, because he did well the first half, even though he's tired and not able to play, let's leave him. No, you change him and bring his fresh blood. That is what should have happened.
So he should have been gone
long since.
by now. And I'm sure you also took note of, so two things have happened in Parliament. Then it's something that we did not anticipate happened. MPs on the majority side, MPP MPs, and I recall how difficult it was for you to even get them behind things that everybody thought was in the interest of the nation. All of a sudden, they are the ones who led the demands for his head. Were you surprised when you saw your former colleagues line up in that way and started making those demands?
I was surprised that it happened, but I reflected back. You know, the president visited the Asante region, and that is the stronghold of Nana Akufo-Addo. And look at the way he was treated. It sends a signal to even the members of parliament, what they have been going through all along. You see, and the way President Nanado is running the government, it is having a direct impact on the party. So you must know the difference between government and a party. It's having direct impact on the party, the fortunes of the party. So I see their decision, one, as a way of protecting their seats. Two, as a way of ensuring that the party do not go down with Nanado.
Okay.
That is the two things I have seen.
So you see self-preservation for themselves and the
Yes.
preservation of the party.
Of the party. So that they'll be able to delink the government from the party. And that means, what is the vehicle that is bringing down the government and the parties? Is Ken Ofori-Atta and the deputy. So they believe that if the two go, it will bring some confidence in the government and therefore have positive impact on the party. And their bold decision, is very bold, and I want to commend them on that. But I also want to let them know that the majority leader is playing a smart one on them.
The majority leader is playing a smart game.
Yes. You see, the moment he came and said that the majority has agreed, then I said, this is a smart one. Why? You didn't hold a press conference. Honorable Appiah Kubi held a press conference and indicated that 80 members of parliament from the majority side are demanding the president to sack Ken Ofori-Atta, the finance minister, and the deputy. If the president met them and they had agreed, I expected Honorable Appiah Kubi to come and hold another press conference and tell us that, we have met the president. He has explained his situation to us. And then we're now okay with him. Then would have asked him, he did indicate in the press conference that you had met him and he refused. How come did he now agree? So that would have been the clarification. But he realized that he was left out of the equation. And majority leader, Chairman Sabosu, now he took the front role. And that is a serious problem. I see it as a betrayal of the majority. In all sense, he was not part of the 80 MPs. Why should you now come and be announcing you and they meeting the president and has agreed? And I listened to Honorable Appiah Kubi. You realize that there's disagreement between what the majority leader said and what the group thinks. So I want to just tell those Honorable Appiah Kubi to be very watchful with the smartness of the majority leader, Honorable Chairman Sabosu.
Well, we'll take a break. When we come back, I'll ask you about the success of the censure move that has been made by the minority, and then a bit more on why you think that they should be very watchful of the way the majority leader is proceeding. We'll be back shortly after this break.
Mira, say Cedi, my holding na basro. Ya metimi hunu so holding na ba. Hey, agbeve MW capsules. And I'm holding na ba say. Kane ye baby bia. We de ma bre ma ten kane ade. Say agbeve MW capsules no. Abro mi ni pedua pomuden. And ama me gina me nan so. We die e mani meme nyina na no. Enti ahoden no obie nya bi. I like that. Agbeve taifa so di dinin honam se. Untumi ni di. Ana wata yare. Nam agbeve taifa no bi. Le beme what did he come? The Saboni Pedriano, Aquotianawa.
Venus Gota, Asami Yem Crew, a yes stomach also use dear. Bibia the Dean Dada.
Venus Gota, I am a one man, Nesio. Yeshim, a dear Hunko Mosea, Liania J.
A son, Yebeko Pharmacy, Herbal, and our chemical shops. To dry your friend Agbeve Herbal Products 020-8130-790 and 0246-595256. Appeal for a bata woman for any Koda winning fear dumianum kaho. FDA aji ejede nkrato yatum.
Say, Masuma Jome, many langard for any chakabia. Order for several passasia mansu be any home. Assassia won't cut a sub edimu. Look no further. Hearts Builders Real Estate ever sorted out. Yawan Sassinibi was Shine Hills, 13,000 cities. Chopoli 20,000. Ningo Pram plot size and a 70 by 100. By a deposit of 4,000 Ghana cities. Diakano, yes, spread them on. Let's Yanaka Pusumi Siatem. Who assassin the baby? Who perceive Besidan Esisumawa. Hearts Builders Real Estate. Your right choice. Yet on plumbing materials bia. Ye delivery our and cry anytime. Yes, so your cleaning services BAB. Boho ye too. A juma be for construction hono. Men kotu sikemu. For one Christmas promotion ya. Hearts Builders Real Estate at the Mount so. Freya CCR 0555 314 806 0241 665 200. Yawa Ashamai Yani Mandela Park no eda edi enimshe. Hearts Builders Real Estate. We are your future planners.
One station.
Accra 2022, 23, 24 and more. We don't try bad drama. Back live.
Commercial free.
Versus mid-morning show.
Oh, we love a bad drama. Mid-morning show.
The Mid-Morning Show.
Yes!
90.5.
Good morning, my neighbors! On Children by Jimba! Experience quality
Radio station.
Put your hands up!
Rave.
Yes!
Powerful. Morning vibes and more. Accra 90.5. We don't tell me by Dribba.
Whoa, we love you!
Your Mid-Morning Show on Radio Go.
We are back like 100 times. 2 times bigger. 90.5. Mid-morning show. We don't tell me by Dreamba.
You call it Feel Good Friday. We say Weekend Spectacular. Cause it's only on one station.
The difference with me, when I do what I do what I'm doing, but I'm doing it like I'm doing it for TV.
Hello, Ghana. After a week of highs and lows, we get you in the right mood only on one station. Radio Gold 90.5 FM. Join yours truly, Kofi Otridako. KOD. And irresistible DJ PK. Only on Weekend Spectacular. 3 hours of pulsating hip-hop, R&B, Afrobeats, and what have you. Great conversation and rip-tickling moments only on Weekend Spectacular. Fridays, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Only on your power station. Radio Gold 90.5 FM. It's Ghana's biggest weekend rendezvous. It's a feel-good Friday.
I love Radio Gold 90.5.
And that takes us to exactly 12 minutes past 9 here in the studios of Radio Gold 90.5 FM. And of course, Honorable is still sitting right in front of me. And so far, so good. So far, so good. It's wonderful to have him. We've been trying to arrange this for some time now. Very busy man. But in the meantime, you know that in any match, when you're going to play football, and you have one team, their energy level is down. Another team, the energy level is high. You know that that's a high scoring match. By the time you know it's 7-0 against one team. So you need to have the same energy levels. That is, it applies to what you do in bed, what they call bedmatics. So you need the same energy level for both the male and the female. That's why Agbeve MW capsules is being introduced. Agbeve MW capsules. So if you have problems with vitality, vigor, and strength, if you're a man, female vitality, low libido, then you need Agbeve MW capsules. Also, Agbeve Herbal has also introduced Venous Gota. Venous Gota is good for ulcer. If you have peptic ulcer, gastritis, and duodenal ulcer, you need Venous Gota. It treats urinary tract infection. If you have discharges from your womanhood, penile discharges, and burning sensation in the private parts, get Venous Gota. Both products, Agbeve MW capsules, Venous Gota, are available at any herbal shop, drugstore, pharmacy, and chemical shops within Ghana. Yes, anywhere you are, you find it. Just ask for Agbeve MW capsules or Venous Gota. You find it. For bulk purchase, contact Agbeve Herbal Center on 024 65 95 256 or locate them at Soutum last stop. Very important. You can locate Agbeve Herbal at Soutum last stop. Let me also remind you that if you're looking for a naturally formulated herbal product to boost your immune system and improve your prostate health, very, very important. If you're a man, you always need to improve, especially if you're above 40. Used to be, I never took issues of prostate seriously until Dr. David Percy told me that you don't joke with your prostate. When you're a man, you get to a certain age, you need to get something to manage you always need to constantly check your prostate. So Maximed Prostate Care Capsules is intended for that. So it's something that you must have as a man. Very, very important. You can get Maximed at any of the leading pharmaceutical shops and herbal shops near you. For more information, call 055 809 3123. And I'm continuing my conversation with Honorable Adam Mutawakilu, former Member of Parliament for Damongo. And before I went on the break, you were talking about the majority leader, Osei Chairman Sabonsu, and the way in which, because his voice is now being heard louder than those who were initially making the call.
Yes.
You're saying the position of the MPs was not the position of the entire majority. They were clear on the numbers that were involved.
Exactly.
And
They said 80.
So that number should be the one speaking. They should be the...
I expected that if Honorable Apia Kubi is the one leading the group and he held a press conference, any discussion with the president, he should come and speak to the public, not the majority leader.
So the statement you saw from the majority leader announcing that they have agreed with the president...
That is why I think that he has taken the shoe and he can mess up with the group. Yeah. I expected Honorable Apia Kubi to come out. The president has met us, we've discussed with him, and this is what we agreed on. Yeah, from day one, you were not part of the show. I'm the leader of the group. I should be the one communicating to the public in respect to anything in relation to the leader, the group.
And one of the things that has come out subsequently is this allegation that there was some businessman who met the MPs. He wasn't there, and there were allegations that there's... How do the MPs handle that? Because now they have a majority leader who sounds like wants to scuttle everything that's happening with this particular group. Do you think the majority has the mentality? Maybe there's mutiny in his backyard, and he's trying to deal with that mutiny.
I don't know whether it is mutiny. I believe that is respect to the president, the finance minister, and what the group think. He might think that he being the majority leader, and they coming out to indicate that he's not able to control the group.
Yeah.
But as I indicated to you, two things. The group think of, one, their constituency, how they perceive the president and the pressure on them, and the party, the MPP as a party. That is how from my point of view and my analysis. So I think he is thinking that I'm the leader. If they are going against the president, then I'm not performing my role, and I have to find a way. He could deal with it in open, candid discussion with them, or he could play a smart one on them and possibly use the leader, Honorable Pierre, could be against the members of the group. It could. Yeah.
There are those who have criticized the group for going into because the group has not denied accepting the terms of the president, and now the majority leader is saying that the president has not said he will fire the finance minister, and I'm wondering, what do they do at this?
That is where the conflict is coming in, because I also heard Honorable Apia Kubi. He said that the president said two things to be done, and then he can take action. The majority leader is saying a different thing altogether, and that is why I said if he doesn't take time, he will play a smart one on him.
Okay.
As to how it will end, it will unfold for us to know.
But then there's the matter of the censure in Parliament.
Yes.
I know there were several times when you were there, you had a slim minority. That thought occurred to you that perhaps we could move for the censure of some ministers, but it won't succeed because the majority at the time will not get behind you. Not at all. Your colleagues have taken that huge step. Everybody sees it and everybody's thinking it won't succeed. Do you see success in this after what has happened within the majority side?
Yeah. First of all, let me deal with why the minority. I might not be able to recollect all.
Oh, okay.
But one of them was, can Oforiatta disregard for the law?
Okay.
Spending money from the consolidated fund without due process and approval from Parliament, like the National Cathedral.
Yeah.
How can you spend over 200 million Ghana cedis without due approval from Parliament. The laws are very clear on that. 2 is conflict of interest. And I've heard some people say that, oh, his bank, Data Bank, has been providing as a financial advisor to even under Rollins when it comes to bonds. Unfortunately, under Rollins, we're not going for Eurobonds. Yeah. Our going to the international market started in 2007 by His Excellency when he went for the $750 million Eurobond. So tracing back to 1996, going to the international market is out of place. And they did indicate, assuming that he was part from 2007, conflict of interest, as I know it, and what is captured, is only when you become the leader or the one taking final decisions in respect to who does A, who does B. So if in 2007, 2013, 2014, the finance minister was in Data Bank and he was being engaged to do it, once he's now the finance minister and has the authority to decide who becomes the financial advisor or whatever to the Eurobond, and he decides to use his own company, then there is conflict of interest. That is the first one. So when you are analyzing, look at who has the decision, the final decision as to who does what. And it is the finance minister, and it is his own company. The other thing I've not heard much is our amendment of our Company Act after the Panama Papers. Beneficial owners and politically exposed persons. So if I have a brother, for example, politically exposed, and he goes in for a business, a contract, and they realize that I hold a very big position in that government, and especially in that sector, that my brother is politically exposed. The likelihood that I will influence with my position in that sector for it to be given to him is high. So his relationship to me has an effect of politically exposed. Then the second one is beneficial ownership. Who eventually take the decision in respect to the company? Okay. Who owns it? Okay. We know very well that those who own the company mostly are not the same people who run it. Yeah. Corporate governance issues to some extent. So who takes the final decision? It might not be the managing director. It might not be the branch managers. It might not be the employees. The one who actually owns it is seated somewhere. At the end of the day, his decision overrides all the other decisions. 2, the ultimate benefit goes to that person. And that is what we call the beneficial owner. Okay. Who is the beneficial owner of Data Bank? It's Ken Ofurata. Okay. He's the owner of it. So whatever decision they are making, he might say, I'm not involved. If he says that, hey, do A, B, C, D, can the managing director say no? No. Whatever gains that they have made, who is the ultimate beneficiary of it? Is he Ken Ofurata. And that is why we say conflict of what? Interest. So you realize that the minority have a strong point in asking for his censure. Because through Eurobond alone, he benefited 151 million Ghana cedis. And he didn't hide it in Parliament. And you realize that even this, let me say, in James' time, when Big Bro Ibrahim Mama decided to desal Odo River, what didn't they make out of it? He was doing it for Mother Ghana. They came out, oh, that's the president's brother, and therefore conflict of interest. It raised so many issues. Meanwhile, he was helping Mother Ghana. Okay. But this is somebody who is using his company. He is the one who decides, give the contract to his company. They run it, they make money. So for Eurobond alone, 151 million Ghana cedis. It's a clear conflict of interest.
Okay.
And therefore, I support them 100% in the pursuit. And at the same time, I'll urge the majority, as a matter of their principle, that Ken Ofori need not be in office, to see how they will support the minority to achieve that aim. Because from the posture of the president and the behavior of the majority leader, I can foresee the majority group, those who came out, their credibility at stake. To be able to ensure that their credibility is intact, I think they should they should collaborate with the minority to make sure that they can operate that censorship.
So if the motion of censure fails, it goes to the credibility of the majority members who stood there and said they wanted Ken Ofori-Atta.
That is what I'm saying, that if it fails and at the end of the day, the president achieves his aim, it is not on the minority. It will have significant impact on the majority. And it will be difficult for the majority to now come and say we are raising a motion of censure. Mm-hmm. You know, human being by nature. Yeah. You say, oh, we are also fed up. Why didn't you support the minority when they came out with that? So in the best, for me, this is the opportune time. We have 14 days. They should look at what is happening, the posture of the president, the way the majority leader behavior, and I support the majority to achieve it.
Well, if you just join us, 27 minutes past 9, I have in the studio Honorable Mutawakilu. We're having a conversation. Now let's move on to, and stay in your sector a bit more, the energy sector. In fact, I don't think it is fair now to call it your sector, now that I know that you are both in accounting and now you are now shifting a bit more to the energy sector. Because the key issue now, in fact, everything aside, and there are fears that it may even affect electricity soon if we don't watch it, is the issue of fuel prices just going to the roofs. We are now looking at 23 cedis for diesel alone, over 18 cedis for petrol. What is happening? How have we gotten here?
I think we've built the foundation in respect to the economy.
Okay.
And I told you that recently, His Excellency stated categorically that capital flight alone, 2 billion. That means that your foreign reserve is having challenges. Yeah. Inflation has caused imports to increase. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, foreign demand for local goods has fallen. Deficit, balance of payment. Since 2019, we'll be recording serious deficit in the balance of payment. Okay. That also put pressure on our foreign reserves. Mm-hmm. So you realize that the foreign reserves, as of August 2021, was $9.6 billion. Mm-hmm. And by June 2022, it was $6.6 billion. A drop of $3 billion. Now, final product of petroleum product, we don't produce it within. TOR is down. Okay. We don't produce locally. So that means that the petrol, the diesel, the kerosene, the air fuel we consume are all imported. Okay. And to import it, we need what? Hard currency. So the BDCs have to go to Bank of Ghana or commercial bank to demand for what? Dollars to import. Do we have the dollars? No. We don't have it. If you don't have it, and the cedi continue to depreciate, you import in dollars and you have to sell in cedis. So that is the situation we are now. Okay. So let me take it in three perspectives. Okay. The petroleum price, local market, depended on three main. Okay. One, international oil price, which is the demand and supply. Mm-hmm. If crude oil prices go high, it will translate to refinery and translate to the final product, the export price. Two, when the export price is determined, the taxes and levies and margins that is put on it also influence the price. So apart from the international oil prices, the taxes, the levies, and the margin that is imposed on the ex-refiner price also determine the price level at the local pumps. 3, if your cedi is not stable and it continue to depreciate against the foreign currencies, especially the dollar, then definitely there will be impact on the pumps.
Okay.
Now, let me take first, when the Ukraine war started, yes, oil prices shot up.
Okay.
You could say, oh, this one is not within the control of government. And I'll still come to deregulation, whether we are doing proper deregulation or not. I've seen some issues there. But the price have been there for quite some time. It went to 130, now it's around 100. So we don't expect with that prices should go up. But in Ghana, prices are going up because the cedi continue to depreciate. So it is not as a result of international oil prices. It's because our cedi is useless, the worst currency in the world, performing currency in the world. So once the cedi continue to depreciate, the BDCs import it in dollars, selling cedis. For them to be able to go back and import, then they need to convert it to dollars. So if they don't take time, by the time they convert it, they will have lower capital to bring in more crude. As their capital erodes, will they be able to bring in more crude? No. So the best way is to adjust, at least to be able to recover their investment, to be continue to stay in business. That is what we are experiencing now. We also realized recently, irrespective of the challenges, we're increasing the boss margin. It has effects on petroleum prices. I think that this is the opportune time for government to take off some taxes. And the first one is special petroleum tax, because it has outlived its usefulness.
The special petroleum tax should go.
Yes, because the special petroleum tax was introduced in 2015,
Okay.
when international oil prices dropped to about $29 per barrel, which is far below the benchmark price that we put in the budget. Because the benchmark price was $99 per barrel. So if the price dropped that way, you realize that we'll not be able to meet our budget obligations. So the special petroleum tax was to raise revenue to fill in that deficit.
Okay.
But today we are making windfall. So the special petroleum tax must go.
Okay.
Government must look at the windfall that we've made as a result of increase in crude oil prices. So while at the pump is increasing, having impact on consumers, we also sell crude, and we are making more than what we expected.
Okay.
Because in the budget, we put about 62% the dollars per barrel. So but now it's about 100. So you are making more than what you projected. And as President Mama indicated, for the first half year, we rake in $732 million, which in Ghana cedi term is 8.7 billion Ghana cedis. What the government said will raise from exporting our crude for the whole year is 6.6 billion Ghana cedis. So that means that within the first 6 months, we've been able to get revenue from our oil export in excess of what we needed for the year.
Okay.
The half year that is left, that means all of them is just additional revenue. Any responsible government would think of cushioning consumers. Even in US, they are thinking of cushioning consumers. And they've implemented policies to cushion consumers.
Okay.
Yesterday, I was reading something, I normally read along the day. And this is what I read small. As oil and gas company in the US and Europe rake in huge profit this year, government is mulling ways to lower costs for consumers.
Okay.
That is US and UK.
Okay.
Government is foreseeing how they can lower costs for consumers. In Ghana, are we thinking about that? No.
So by first 6 months, we had gotten what
we
projected,
needed in excess.
What we budgeted for. We've gotten that.
We have gotten it in excess of 2.1 billion Ghana cedis.
So what we've
because you needed 6.6 billion Ghana cedis for the whole year. In 6 months, you got 8.7 billion Ghana cedis. So that is in excess of 2.1 billion.
From July
our
to
oil
now,
export.
we are still getting
from
additional
January
revenue.
to June.
Okay.
Now from July to December, it's windfall.
Okay.
Any government that has the people as the center will look at how to cushion them. And that's what I'm just referring even to the US and UK. Mm-hmm. They are coming out with issue to cushion what? Consumers. Ghana, a developing country where most of our people are impoverished. The per capita income is low. Government is raking in windfall and it's not thinking of how to cushion consumer. This is a very insensitive government. You know that Nanado and his team are not in for the people of Ghana. They are in to make money.
Okay.
Not trade with us, make the money, and not to cushion Ghanaians.
Make money. You said this government is in to make money.
For themselves.
But how does revenue? Revenue goes to the revenue is used is for the country, is it not?
You see, the application of it. So we now come to corruption. Okay. So if you do that, you now come to corruption. And let me stay here first.
Okay.
So that is one. So government, first of all, must tackle the taxes and levies.
Okay.
2, the windfall, they must bring it in to cushion Ghanaians.
Okay.
Now that comes in as to either OMCs. OMCs can increase prices as and when they want. I've heard in many media landscape, they said, we are doing deregulation. So if the city depreciates or the price international OMCs have the opportunity to increase prices. Mm-hmm. The law we pass is not total deregulation.
Okay.
Some people will call it partial deregulation. Some people will also call it price modulation.
Okay. Partial
deregulation or price modulation. Okay. Now, the MPA still have a role and the power to set a ceiling price. Now, within this window, you cannot go beyond this price.
Okay.
So they can say this window, you can't go beyond 15 Ghana cedis per liter.
Okay.
And all OMCs must fall within. There is a question as to whether the OMC can increase prices. Now, assuming MPA gives a ceiling of, let's say, 15 Ghana cedis, I'm just assuming, per liter. But OMCA is charging 14 Ghana cedis. You see, it still has a space of 1.
Yeah.
So in the course of that window, if they realize that my costs have gone up, they can increase it to, say, 14.5. Mm-hmm. But they will make sure that they do not exceed the 15 set by MPA. So the OMC can increase, but they cannot increase beyond the ceiling of MPA if their charges are below the ceiling price.
Okay.
That brings into question whether MPA is performing that role now. I'll say no.
But would they have the moral authority to do that? If they are refusing
it is a
to
law.
help?
It is a law. We are dealing with a law here.
But it's also economics. You must give something to get something.
Do you throw the law away? We are not having complete deregulation. So now if OMC can set up any price, I'm okay, without regard to MPA. Like I just read, MPA say, oh, the MCs can go ahead.
Yeah.
That is a slap on the face of MPA. Their purpose to protect the consumer, they failed. Do you get my point? They failed. Because that is the law. If you want, review it and let them fall within. But I can guess last week, they went beyond the ceiling price of MPA.
Okay.
Because the city has depreciated. And therefore, the law doesn't work. When we go that way, cartelling sets in. Because the purpose of setting the ceiling price is to discourage cartel.
Okay.
Where OMCs can come together and say, let's stop the people. I increase my price, you also increase, you also increase, you also increase. Next week, we meet again. How do we rob the people?
Okay.
When it comes that way, cartelling will set in. And when that starts, we'll be in serious trouble. And that is why the role of MPA as the price modulator is very, very important. By this, they've lost it. If OMCs can do whatever they want with the prices, then we are in serious crisis. That also calls into question, when will government take responsibility for their incompetence? Because if currently what we are facing is not as a result of external factors, like international crude oil prices, but it's as a result of our inability to manage our economy, should the burden be borne by consumers? If inflation goes high, Cedi depreciates. Who is supposed to ensure that the Cedi depreciate? What did Dr. Baumia say? When the Cedi was about 4.7 as at December 2016. He criticized the government.
When the fundamentals are wrong.
We don't have fundamentals today.
There are no fundamentals.
We don't have fundamentals again. What are the fundamentals? Exchange rate, inflation, debt, economic growth.
Yeah.
Take them. Do we have fundamentals again? They are all on a free fall. High inflation, ranging to 40. Exchange rate is around 13, 14 now. Debt, 522 billion Ghana cedis by end of this December. So do we have fundamentals now? No. Government must take responsibility and do what is needful. The windfall from our oil export, take a portion of it and cushion Ghanaians. Take off the special petroleum tax. It's not needed at this time.
Okay. Well, in the midst of all this, the president's proposal, and I'm sure you've heard, is that they are dealing with supply chain issues. And this infographic I will not lose because it's very relevant to the discussions we've been having. This is an infographic that was released by the presidency after his address. Two things he talks about: the energy sector reforms, and then he's also tackle cost of living by working to stabilize prices of petroleum products through new supply arrangements.
So let me take it and tell you that he will fail if he doesn't tackle depreciation of the city.
Okay.
New supply arrangement. We have BDCs currently who are not getting dollars to bring in petroleum products.
Okay.
So if they don't get the dollars, that means that they won't be able to bring in the products.
Okay.
There will be shortage in supply.
Okay.
Do you get my point?
Yeah.
So they are now thinking of getting dedicated, well-resourced companies that can take that risk to bring the products.
Oh, okay.
I'm okay.
Okay.
But currently what we are going through is not just supply alone.
Okay.
There is a shortfall in supply because the city is depreciating, eroding their capital even they have. So if you have a dedicated supply, then your cedi is unstable. You can't guarantee price stabilization. Do you get my point?
Okay.
Yes. Because the current increment is not because of supply. It's because of the cedi depreciation that is causing prices to escalate and even threatening supply. The cedi depreciation is what is threatening supply.
Okay.
Because the more it depreciates, the more the BDC sees that, hey, the 100 million I invested with the cedi depreciation $1 million, I'm not likely to get it back. If I'm not likely to get back the $100 million, how do I supply?
Okay.
So the cedi depreciation is what is even affecting the supply side. So if you have dedicated, reliable supply and the cedi depreciates, they will increase prices. It won't solve the problem. He should have tackled it better, looking at how to stabilize the cedi.
So that is where he should be going to.
He should be looking at.
Improving.
The current petroleum price increment is not because of supply. It's because of the depreciation of the cedi. He should have looked at it much better. And he proposed something. One of the points was the issue of imports, reducing imports.
Yes, reducing imports. Because start the process of discouraging importation of rice, poultry, vegetable oil, fruit juices, etc.
I laughed when I heard that. If he was a president who knows that governance is continuous, we shouldn't have been where we are today. I remember in 2014, 2015, James said that we need to tackle imports. Poultry, rice, sugar, tomatoes alone cost government almost 1.5 billion all. And therefore practical steps must be taken to ensure that we produce locally. What did JM do? His Excellency first started with 300,000 broiler projects to support Ghanaians with 300,000 broilers so that we can produce enough, which will go a long way to reduce importation. Boost local rice production. So local rice production was boosted. And by December 2016, 60% of the rice consumed in Ghana was locally produced. He setting up a factory at Savugu to process AFNAF. So he was boosting local production. Sugar, Commander Sugar Factory. So that with time, it will produce enough to feed us so that we reduce imports. When he became president, did he continue with that? No. Commander Sugar Factory is seated there. Even if you have challenges with Commander Sugar Factory, knowing its impact on importation of sugar, you would have done everything possible by 2017 to start working. Like by now, this reduction of import will, if you had continued with the 3,000 broiler project that JM started, and now you are in 1 million broiler projects, do you think we'll have these difficulties? If you have boost local production like JM did, will we have been here? Let me tell you, when they came, even school feeding, they were not using local rice. Free SHS, they don't use local rice. That discipline didn't start with him. You know, recently, even the eggs, they wanted to start importing it from China. And poultry farmers raised alarm. This is a government that has taste for foreign goods. And
they
today,
have taste for foreign goods.
Yes, because if you inherit an economy where 60% of rice consumed is produced locally, and school feeding program was one of the main actors consuming it, then Ghanaians in addition. Do you get my point? You go buy local rice, buy yam produced within Ghana, buy all those things and feed the people. It's to boost local production. You have come to power, school feeding import. Free SHL, you introduce food from somewhere, you are only increasing the demand for foreign goods and boosting their economy at the expense of yours. 6 years down the lane, you now come that you want to cut import. How will you do it in 6 months? Are you going to place embargo or quotas when you have not prepared the grounds to make sure that that shortfall will be met by local producer within the 6 months? He's joking.
But I also
Nana Akufo-Addo is joking.
I wanted to go to another point on this matter of substituting imports with exports, basically maybe locally produced goods. I recall somewhere around 2015 all the way to 2016, there was and the man who was in charge there, including everybody in the John Mahama administration, insists that they actually refine crude oil at Tema Oil Refinery. And I'm referring to, I forgot
that
his
name. That is leveraging the energy sector.
Yes.
It's one of the key.
Yeah, I think his name has escaped me. The CEO then, who was in charge of both Bost and Tor.
Yeah, Honorable Awadako.
And after doing that, immediately he left. And the John Mahama administration left Tor. Tor has returned to its default state, sitting there, and they are claiming that everything is, all of a sudden, the Tor that process, that refined fuel, can, what is the problem?
You see, that is what I'm saying that. And that is what JM has addressed very well. And instead of him to take it and implement, he's not willing. This government is interested in export and producing locally. Do you know that even the oil sector, our participation was not too much of interest to them? That if we participated in the oil sector, we'll get much revenue. And that is why Exploco, that was set up to be able to take active part in the upstream, so that we'll also get a chunk. They ran it down.
I recall they sold the shares in
under AGM from 24% to 0. And it should have been a partner operator.
Okay. That was the intention.
That was the intention, so that we can build our own
capacity
to be able to take part in the upstream. That is not there, no. Go and tell Nanado that, oh, you want to use 10 crude for Tor to process. He will tell you, when we can get dollars, when we export, he will tell you that. So their motive was, how can we export the oil and get more money than how to pump it to use it at Tema Oil Refinery. JM was committed to ensuring that we have value within, not without. To ensure that our oil and gas industry, both upstream and downstream, now we don't have midstream much, are well resourced to reduce importation and to do value addition. And that is why he took that bold step to ensure that 10 crude was processed when Honorable Awadako was the MD. And he did well. Now Tor is on its need. It's not able to produce anything. The upstream. President Nanado been president for 6 years. Even one field, he hasn't added. I will tell you, if Nanado was the president in 2008, we won't have Ghana Gas Company. It takes a leader to know what will I do today to yield benefit in the future. That decision by His Excellency J. Mills, with His Excellency JM being the vice president and the best economic management team chairman, he's the leader. That time we have sustained single-digit inflation. Invested in ensuring that we have Ghana Gas Company. It is saving us over $30 million a year. Producing LPG 50% of the demand. That is a leader. He takes a decision today, you might not see it. And then tomorrow you realize that that was the best decision. And these people came with hatred for whatever JM was doing. Whatever JM was doing and left office, they didn't want to just do it, including e-blocks. And today you are caught up. You are going back to something your predecessor started and it has chalked success. Continue with it. You said no. And that is where we are today. That's why JM promised to revamp TOR, increase the capacity of Ghana Gas Company so that we can reduce import of finished goods and the 39% light crude oil that we now import, because instead of 100%, we've been with the Ghana Gas Company, 61% of the light crude oil that we import. We now import about 39. If that expansion had taken place, by now would have been importing zero light crude oil, or maybe minimal.
Let me conclude by taking your thoughts on the president's address. You have already spoken to some aspects of it. Essentially, everybody thought that to give the economy some confidence.
It's vague.
It was vague.
Yeah, it was very vague. He blamed speculators. Speculators will always look at the fundamentals and the indicators. They don't just come and speculate.
So his economy gave speculators reason to speculate.
Yeah, if IMF says that our debt to GDP ratio is likely to be 105% by end of the year, what do you think? Do you think that the economy will be rosy by then?
No.
If you're an investor, what happens? Debt sustainability of the government. If your debt is at that level, there is likely to be debt restructuring. And he spoke about how that is part of what we call debt restructuring. You can restructure your debt. The moment you make a decision to restructure, it amounts to default. That means you have now agreed that you cannot pay your debtors. And then you want to adapt some method to reduce it. You can extend the gestation period. So if you have 2 years investment, government will say, oh, increase it to 4 years. You can deny the people the interest. That is a haircut. That your interest, instead of you vested 100,000, instead of 20,000 interest we're giving you, we cannot give you that. We'll give you back your 100,000. That is a haircut. The third one is where it catches your own principal. The 100,000 probably you invested, you even get the 100,000. But you rather get 80,000. That is a haircut. So the president was vague. And the communication minister trying to explain.
The information minister. Right?
Oh, sorry. The information minister trying to explain always set his own rules. And I don't know why. I listened to him when he said foreign aid is not a loan. He set his own rules. Who told him that foreign aid is not a loan? And I just wonder.
Foreign aid.
Foreign aid includes loans and grants. That is foreign aid. And he said it was not a loan. It's a foreign aid. And I just wonder, where has he decided to define? Now he's defining haircut to mean that only if it affects your principal. That is the haircut. And that I have a challenge. He must be careful. He should always try to seek advice from professionals before he speaks. Yeah.
Well, Honorable Mutawakilu, this is where we'll bring it. We'll end it. Thank you very much for coming. But I wanted to ask, is that the end of the PDS matter? Because the PDS matter was perhaps one of the dirtiest scams we've ever seen in this country. But
serious scam.
Little talk since then.
You know, they went to court and it has been dead. I know that, and I can foresee when President Mama comes, we'll have to get to know how the resources were applied.
Well,
President Mama is passionate about the country, ensuring that the right thing is done. Because it has been hanging over the period. And I believe that when he became president, come December 2024, 7th, and take over governance in 2025. All these things will be visited, including the COVID. Yeah. COVID, government got $6 billion and still complaining. And many other things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
I'm
for
most
making
grateful.
time. Thank you.
Highly
for making
grateful.
it.
Thank you.
It was wonderful hosting in the studio. And that leaves us with barely a minute to hand over to Ochami, who is the host of the mid-morning show, the king of mid-morning, and is coming up next with Afrobeat Midweek with Kel songs in the spotlight. But before we go, just to remind you that if you need a place to buy land, where you have to go to is Hard Builders Real Estate. They are selling lands, litigation free lands to you for as low as 13,000 Ghana cedis, 15,000 Ghana cedis, and 20,000 Ghana cedis, depending on the location. All you have to do is they are also offering a flexible payment plan. So they say just bring 4,000 or 5,000 Ghana cedis as deposit and spread the balance within 6 months. Their lands are located at Chopoli, Shai Hills, Ningo, Pram, Asabi, among other areas. Limited plots are available, so don't be left out.
I love you.
Give them a call today. 059 32 44 322 or 055 53 14 806. Hard Builders Real Estate, they are the future planners. And of course, you're listening to Miss V Something featuring Harmonize. Miss V is one of the artists who will be at Rhythms on the Runway on 20th November. It's a green edition to be coming off live at the Grand Arena of the Accra International Conference Center. And this year, it is not a red carpet that will roll out. It's the green carpet that will roll out.
I go take you to Zanzibar, Ukopemba. Spend time from January to December.
So don't forget to get your tickets now at www.rhythmsontherunway.com. And if you spell the D-T-H-E, you make a mistake. It's D-A. Rhythms on the Runway, one word.com, or call 055 5062 It's a dance of music and fashion. It's a night of music and fashion. And of course, dance. Very, very important. This one is coming from, this one is to Alasan Mahmoud Yala, who is NDC communication member at Ejra Setre Dumansi constituency, and Osman is it by Diawe Shamuna, also a communication member at Ejra. John gave it to me. John Batintora gave it to me. Ocham is up next with the mid-morning show.
So much life you give to me. I've been waiting long time. I've been waiting all my life. Come on, let's be young.
Mafuya me ya. You say hepatitis.